Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Kuwait University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 17 of the subject of Object-Oriented Analysis and Design, in which we are going to discuss modeling the data flow diagram in UML. Dear students, a data flow diagram represents the flow of data among different components of a project. It is very much important to describe the flow of data in the different components of the project because this will gives us how the structure of the project can be organized. Different entities and their respective data are shown in the data flow diagrams. So this is very much important topics, and also you will use this topic in your final year project thesis. So that's why you must have to carefully prepare this topic. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of data flow diagram. Then we will discuss different symbols and notation used for the creation of the data flow diagrams. There are different layers or levels of the DFD. So we have three different levels, that is level 0, level 1, level 2. Mostly three layers are followed. Then we have creating data flow diagrams. Here we will provide you some examples of creation of the data flow diagrams, and at the end we have data flow diagram rules and tips. What is the data flow diagram? Basically, data flow diagram, also shortly called the DFD, it helps to show the flow of information of any process or the system. So in the data flow diagrams, as its name indicates, it shows the flow of data or information, and this flow will be depicted for many processes or any other processes here, and the process are in fact the functionality or the particular operation of the system. There are different sort of the symbols used for representing the data flow diagram. For example, rectangles, circles, arrows, these are mostly used, and also we have some labels which are representing certain text. And also we will use input data, output data, and storage points, and different routes which represents pathways between the different components or process where the data will flow using these routes. In the DFD, we can have different sort of the data flow diagrams, and they have different levels. Here we will provide level 0, level 1 and level 2 because universally we are following only three layers, level 0, level 1 and level 2 here. So these levels progressively defines the DFD into more deeper way so that the developers can easily understand the DFD and then convert that DFD into coding. So the data flow diagram is mostly used to analyze the existing system or model a new one. So we can use the data flow diagrams to model the system, or we can also use the data flow diagram to analyze the system. Now data flow diagram is very much important to represent the system because the DFD or the data flow diagram is quite easy to be understandable because it gives us visualized informations, and that visualized information are understandable to all of the stakeholders because it gives us information about both technical and non-technical audience. So that's why data flow diagram is very much important. And from the developers to CEO, everyone has importance for the data flow diagram. Now there are different symbols or notations used to create the data flow diagram. So we have two common systems of symbols names after their inventors. We have Jordan and Court symbols. These are scientists which are responsible to invent the data flow diagram. That's why they have created their own symbols. Also we have Jordan and DeMarco symbols, and also we have Gann and Sarson symbols. So these are different sort of these symbols which are used to represent the data flow diagrams. So the only difference in the symbol is that the Jordan uncode and Jordan DeMarco uses a circle for the process, while the game and Saxons uses rectangles with rounded corners. And these are also called the lozenges. So here we will show you both standards here. So first, there is the external entity in the data flow diagram. The external entity is represented here in the form of rectangle, and inside this rectangle we have a label, and the label specifies the types of entity or the name of the entity. So these are the sources and destination of information which are entering or leaving the system. So here it can be the enter point or the leaving points here. So, and these are also known as the terminators, also used to show the resources, and signs are the actors. So different standards we have. One standard is using the rectangle, while another standard is using the ellipse. So both are used. Here we will show you that which standard is used by which scientist here. Another important symbols or notation used in DFD is called the process. The process represents certain operations, and the process which in fact when changed the data produces an output here. So it can be a communication or a sort of database or logic or direct that flows used for the business rules. The sort of label is used to describe the process, such as submit payment. Here we define the levels, means that it is the level 1 process or level 0 process or level 2 process, and here we define the process name, like login is one of the process. Submit payment is also another process. Similarly, we have searching inside of the database is also one of the process here. The next important symbol or notation used in data flow diagram is called the data stores. As its name indicates, the data store represents the storage of the actual data which are used by the project. So the data stores contain different sorts of the databases or the tables which will be used to process by the processes. So the data stores contain different files or repositories which contains information for the users, and these informations are in fact used by the database tables or the membership form. Here the data store receive a simple label such as orders. For example, here is one of the symbols used for the representing the data stores, like the product is a table or a database which is processed by the certain processes involved in the DFD. Also we have another symbols. So this is the products here, and here we also specify another label like C here. So this symbol represents the data stores, which can be a table or certain forms or membership forms. The next important symbols and notation used in DFD is called the data flow. The data flow represents the particular routes or a pathway through which the data will flow, and this data flow connects two or more than two processes with each other. Also, this data flow will link the data stores to the process here. For the data flow, we use the arrow lines. It can be a solid arrow lines, or it can be some edged or some rounded arrow lines here as it's shown. So it represents certain routes that the data will take between the external entities process and the data stores. This represents the interface between the other components as well, and is shown with this particular arrow lines. The arrow line represents the directionality of the data flow, and here we define certain labels with the short data names like billing details. means that the billing data is coming from the data stores or from one process to another data store or a process here. Now, dear students, these notations which we have discussed, these are 4 different notations, but there are 2 important standards that are used for the creation of DFD. One standard is called Jordan and Code, and second standard is called Gaines and Sarson. So, for the external entities, the Jordan and Code's symbol is a rectangle with a round edges. While for the Gaines and Sarsons, we have also the same symbol. While the process in the Jordan and Code standard is a circle, while for the process in the Gaines and Sarsons standard is this one. So here we define the level and here we define the process name. This is the data store symbols used in the Jordan and Code, and also we have this data store used for the Gaines and Sarsons. While for the data flow, both have the same symbols. Now, to convert the DFD into different levels, we have to progressively define the DFD in more details. Here we have 0, 1 or 2 levels of the DFD. Mostly we use these levels 0, 1 or 2, and it is internationally known levels of the DFD. While the levels of DFD defines more details. Level 0 is very much abstract, level 2 is more in the details, while level 2 is the much in the details. And occasionally it goes to the level 3. Sometimes we also can go to the level 3, but it's occasionally, not always. So it is necessary levels for details depends that the scope of DFD should be accomplished. If the scope of the project is accomplished in level 1, then well, it will be sufficient. Otherwise, we need to draw the level 2 as well. The first level is called level 0. In level 0 of DFD, the context diagram is created. The context diagram is very much abstract, and it is a basic level where the whole system is represented with certain process. And it is in fact designed to at a glance views, means that at a glance is a very much abstract views, which shows the system as a single high-level process with its relations to external entities. Now, the DFD here shown will be very much easily understood by different stakeholders, including business analysts, data analysts, and the developers. This is the example of the level 0 DFD. It represents the hotel reservation system. You can see that here is a central software, hotel reservation. Hotel reservation interacts with the guest components and also with the admin components. So that means that there are 2 important components of the hotel reservation. So the guest will first fill the cancellation forms or fill the reservation form. So it means that guest can reserve the room or also he or she can cancel the room. So after reserving or cancelling the rooms, then the hotel reservation will provide room information to the guest. Also, there is an admin connected with the hotel reservation systems, and the admin can perform the up-down hotel info, meaning that he can provide the certain informations to update the systems like new rooms in the hotels. Also, some new facilities are change the existing facilities in the hotel. Also, he or she can reserve or cancel information, means that all the reserves or cancel information can flow from the hotel reservation system to the admin. Also, the guest info, waiting info can be in fact provided to the admin. So the flow of these important information is coming from hotel reservation software to the admin. So you can see that here are very basics information about the hotel reservations, and that is defined in the level 0. The next level is level 1 DFD. This is level 1 DFD. Level 1 DFD is little bit in the more detail than the level 0 DFD. In this data flow diagrams, level 1 provides more details information about the different processes of the contents level diagram, and it also provides the main function which are used by the system. So when you break down the high level process of the context diagram into sub processes, then this will become the level 1 data flow diagram. Here we have the same examples as in the previous level 0. We have just one process, that is called hotel reservation system. But here that main system is divided into 4 different processes, that reservation process, room selection process, and report to the admin, and also inquiry process. Now this is in fact the entity. It can be some human, or it can also be some outside of software or another hardware. For example, guest is a user here. So guest can interact with the reservation process. Also he or she can interact with the inquiry process. Now these are 3 different in fact data stores, and they are different in symbols. Like this is the reservation storage files, means that this is the files which can be updated by the guest when he or she is reserving the room. So then the reservation storage file will be updated. And when the room is cancelled, the reservation may be cancelled, then the reservation storage file will be also updated here. Now reservation process is interacting with the inquiry. So inquiry is providing data to the reservation process, while the data comes from the down storage and also from the up storage. Down storage means that when the admin wants to perform some updations, and that updations means that when the admin is reducing some sort of the facilities, then there will be a down storage. And up storage means that when there are new facilities or new rooms are added, then the guest will see these new rooms or new information or new facilities through certain inquiries. And inquiries will provides the data to the reservation process, and then this data will be in fact accessed by the guest. Well, also reservation process is accessing another process. Here's room selection process. So this is a process where the guest will use to select the room. Also the guest can use report to the admin process, means that he or she can also contact with the admins about certain informations. Now you can see that this DFD is more in details than the level 0. So it means that the main hotel reservation process is split into 4 different processes here. And the final level is the DFD level 2. As obviously it well provides the more detailed information of the project. In the level 2 DFD, this DFD will goes one step deeper into the parts of the level 1. So this provides more text reach to the necessary levels of the details about the system functionality of the project. Now here in this level 2 we have many processes and many data stores reached here. Also we have the guest, which is an entity which interacts with the query process, and this guest also interacts with the inquiry process, and the inquiry is back provided to the guest here. So this is another example of the DFD. While the inquiry process takes data from the reservations storage. Reservation storage also uses the hotel process. So this data is also provided to the hotel process. And hotel process in fact take data from the waiting table. While also hotel process takes data from the cancelled table. Means that when the room is cancelled by the guest, then these data will be provided to the hotel. And a cancellation process is involved by the guest. So first guest will call the query process, then reservation process, and then the cancellation process. And then the cancellation process will use the room selection process. Room selection process is called by the confirmation process. So when the room is selected and the confirmation process is executed, then the reservation information will be stored in the reservation data warehouse. So these are different data warehouse which interacts with the different processes in the level 2 of data flow diagrams. Dear students, now you must have some information prior to create the data flow diagrams. So first you need to create a list of activities. List of activities are list of functionalities which will be provided by the system. These are list of features as well. So here we have, for example, customer orders, serve products, collect payments, product, produce products, store products, order raw materials, similarly pay for the raw materials and pay for the labors. Now examples of creating a list of activities are here that group these activities in some logical fashions and possibly functional areas. So you have to group or order the list of orders of different activities which are in fact used by the customers to interact with the systems. The user will interact with the system through these different sort of the activities. So all the list of activities should be defined prior to the creation of the DFD. Next step is to construct the context level DFD, which is level 0. So here we will create the level 0 DFD. Here we requires the system name, for example, lemonade system. So lemonade system will takes order from the customers, and also it is connected with the employees, and also it will connect with the vendors. So basic purpose of this system is to provide different products to the customers, and these products will be in fact provided by the employees as well as with the vendors. Now customers can take order using the lemonade system, means that the customers provides the order to the system. Similarly, customer can also pay for the orders, while the system will provides products served. So means that products will be served to the customers by the system. Similarly, the employees who will use these systems, they can perform production schedules. Also, they will provide the time frameworks, while the system will provide sale forecast and the pay of the employees. Means that these calculated pays will be provided to the employees, while the vendors who are responsible to provide the products to the customers through this softwares, the vendors will in fact provide received goods. Means that the goods will be received by the system to the vendors. Also, the vendors will perform the payment. Means that this system will takes payment from the vendors, and this system will also takes purchase order from the vendors. Now in the level 2 context DFD, we have in fact here first we have defined the level 0. So here we need to create a context level diagram and we need to identify the sources and the sinks which are different users. For example, customer one user, employees and vendors are also another two different users here. So here we have customers, orders, serve products, collect payments. These are different functionalities, And produce products, store products, these are also another functionalities which are in fact different sort of function that will interact with the different users here. And order raw materials, pay for raw materials, and pay for labors. These are functionalities which will be provided to the different users of this Lemonade systems. In the next levels, we will construct the level 0 DFD. In the level 0 DFD, we will identify manageable sub-processes. Means that we will divide that main process which are here into sub-processes. For example, sale process, production process, procurement process, and payroll process. And all these processes will be labeled with the 1, 2, 3, 4, which are in fact the sequence of the operations which will be called by different users. So the same users are here, customer, vendors, and employees. And these are now interacting with different sub-processes. While here in the previous, they are interacting with one process, while here they are interacting with different processes, which are the sub-processes of the Lemonade system. So customers interacts with the sales for ordering these products. Also, the customer provides the payments. Similarly, employees will receive the sales. So sales information will be provided to the employee module. In the productions, the product will be served to the customers. Also, the employee will use the productions to produce the schedules. Schedules means the times required to produce the products to the customers by the employee. And also we have procurements here. So in the procurements, which is inventory, so means that this procurement will be connected with the vendors only, and also this will serve the employees. So employee will use the procurements for order decisions. Also we have another payroll. Payroll will be only used by the employees to create the pay. So the pay will be provided to the employees, and when the employee will provide the time workload, then the pay will be provided according to that workload to the employee. So this is the level 0 DFD, which is in fact in more detail. Next, when we divide the level 0 into more details, then it is sometimes possible to divide one process in the level 1 DFD, and then second process in the level 1 DFD, and third, and so on. So here we construct 1 to n DFD. 1 to n means when there are, for example, here you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 processes. So we will divide, or we will create a more detailed DFD for the sale. Then we will create more detailed DFD for the production, and similarly for the procurement, and at last we will also create the level 1 DFD for the payroll. So here we will provide constructs level 1 to n, means that 1 to 4, because we have 1 to 4 means that 1 to 4, 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 DFD. So it identifies the actual data flows and data storage here. Now in the level 1 DFD we have customers data warehouse, similarly orders, and payment data warehouse. Now these different data warehouse interacts with the these are data stores. They interacts with the record orders, and also order interacts with the received payments here. So when the payment is received by the customers, and then the received payments process will be executed. So this will create the payment. Similarly, production sale forecast, which are used by the employees, they have request for forecast by the employees, and sale forecast will be provided to the employees. Means that in the next month, what is the forecast for the sales? So when the employee request for the forecast for the productions of sales, then that will be provided to the employee here. So in the level 1, we decompose the processes in level 0, and then we identify the data stores. So here you can see that we have customer order data store, and also we have payment data stores. So serve payments, product, produce products, store products, order raw material, pay for the raw materials, and pay for the labors. These are different processes which are executed here. Next, we will construct the level 1, which is, and here we have continued. So means that we will also prepare or design another level of the DFD. Here we will create a level 1 DFD by decomposing the processes in level 0, and also we need to identify the data stores. These are data stores we have identified here. The data stores are different possible set of the tables or databases which will be involved for different processes. And for example, like serve products is using the orders, and also the order tables use the serve products process. Similarly, raw material also uses the produce products, and produce products also uses the raw material tables. So here quantity used in the raw material is used by the produce products. Similarly, the second level, this is 2.3, is the store products. The store product uses the inventory database or the tables. So this table is updated by the store products when the product is produced. So when the product is produced, then the store products is process will also be executed, and the store products will update the inventory database or the table. So this DFD identified different sorts of the customers, also identified different sorts of the databases or data stores. Similarly, we have another level 1 for another processes. So here we have created a level 1 decomposition processes which are created in level 0, and then we will identify different data stores for that particular process. So here we have 4 different data stores: purchase order, raw materials, receive items, and vendors. So we identified these 4 another data stores, and these data stores are interacting with the produce purchase orders, receive items, and pay vendors. So these are interacting with this particular different sort of the data stores. And also we will create the level 1 decomposition of the DFD process in level 0 and identify the data stores. These are another data stores which we have identified. So you in fact here are observing that for each and every process, we will define the level 1 DFD in more details, and that will be the sub DFD of overall level 1. So here you can see that record time work is in fact 4.1, which was the fourth process, and they are interacting. This process is interacting with the time codes and also interacting with the employee data stores. So it will take the employee ID to record the time workload, and then the time workload will be computed. And also employee data store is interacting with the calculate payroll, because the pay is calculated for the employee. Now then the payroll will be updated here by the calculate payroll. So payroll is the data stores which is updated by the payroll, and the payrolls also provides informations to the payment approvals that whether this payment is approved or not approved. If that is approved, then the pay employees process will be executed at the end of the month, and then this process is taking information from the payments. So these informations are provided to the payments that overall this payment is produced for this particular month to pay the employees. So this is the level 1 DFD for every process. And then we will in fact here perform the decompositions. This slide shows that how you will perform the decomposition. Decomposition means that dividing the main process into sub-processes here. For example, we have lemonade systems. The lemonade system is used by different customers, employees to order the products. So in this systems, first we have the sale process. The sale process is split into two more processes: record order and receive payments. We have production process. The production process is split into three more sub processes, which is serve products, produce products, and store products. While procurement process is also split into produce purchase orders, receive items, and pay vendor process. Also, we have the payroll. The payroll is divided into record time work and calculate payroll and pay employees sub processes. So this is the context level. This is level 0 and level 1. Sometimes this is called level 0, level 1 and level 3 in many other books. Now to create the DFD, we have to follow certain rules and tips. First rule is this one, that we need to define each processes with at least one input and one output. So there should be at least one input and one output for each process in the DFD. Each data store should have at least one data flow and one data flow out. So data store must have certain incoming and outgoing data flow, because when we will update the tables or database, then it must be some data flow for incoming data flow and outgoing data flow. Now data stores in a system must go through a process. That means that the data store must be processed by some process. So if we are using the data stores, but the data stores is not interacting with any process, then there is no concepts of the DFD which are in fact obtained here. So we must connect the data store with any one process in the DFD. All processes in the DFD should go to another process or a data stores. Means that similarly, when a data store is should be connected with any one process, similarly the all process must also be connected with some data store. Because when data store is not updating any sort of the database, that means that the DFD is very weak, because DFD contains only some processes which are not updating any sort of the data stores. Dear students, this is the end of the lecture. This is the book which is very much important for you to study. This book is Data Flow Diagram, simply put, process modeling technology techniques for requirements, institution and workflow analysis. And it is very much advanced books written in 2016 by Thomas Hatawa. So you should download this book and study this book for more concepts about the DFD. Also, if you have any question, I will wait for your question. My email is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk. I will wait for your question and will respond soon as soon you email me. Thank you very much.